And we are live. Good morning
Lovely.
to everybody. I am so thrilled to be here today. My name is Glenda Kroll, and I consider myself to be a wise woman because I believe as we age, we don't get older, we just get wiser. And through my wisdoms of the years, and through what I have been through, I've been very blessed to meet some incredible, wonderful women along my path. And I believe as we share our stories, we also help others to, go through their struggles. And maybe they don't have to go through their struggles as hard if we can share what we've been through to others, and maybe it makes their learning curve a little easier. So today I'm sharing with you a wonderful, lovely woman that I met a few years ago. Well, it's been quite a few years. Time just totally does fly. And she has her own amounts of wisdom that I believe needs to be shared. And so today I'm introducing Marilyn Rose, a globally recognized business coach for ambitious women looking to create high-ticket coaching offers. Marilyn has worked for a $30 million startup company before branching off to reinvent herself again and creating her company, Wealthy Women. Welcome, Marilyn. Thank you so much for coming on today and agreeing to speak to myself and my audience. Hello,
Thank you,
and
Glenda.
welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. So, first of all, Marilyn is coming to us from the UK, and she has created her own world and recreated herself. So today we're going to talk about, how we as women at times need to recreate ourselves. So first of all, tell everybody a little bit about you, and can you give us a little bit of history?
Of course. So just a brief background. I didn't start out in the business coaching world. I didn't even think that was going to be part of my journey. I had originally planned to go to medical school, and I thought like my 12-year track, everything was set, and I was going to become this glamorous doctor, as you see on Grey's Anatomy, since I was like a 12-year-old kid. And so when I had graduated from university with my science degree, I ended up taking a gap year between, since I graduated early, I had made that into what was my gap year from what I thought was going to be a year of studying for my MCAT and going into the professional medical world. But things changed. And what happened was I ended up getting introduced into this online space that we have and learning that my mom actually introduced me into like this whole world of being able to make money online, of affiliate marketing. And I was like, what is this? And at that time, there weren't many coaches or courses online. And this was about 6 years ago now. And so I had decided that I was going to create my first course. And I've always been passionate and enthusiastic about wellness and nutrition. And so my course at that time was everything you needed to know about nutrition. And so it was still kind of along the lines of like the medical route in terms of what I thought was for helping others. And instead of going into the treatment side of things, I said, okay, I'm going to just do this online space and do more prevention. And with that first course, it ended up doing really well. And I thought, okay, like I'm not going to go spend 12 more years in the medical world if I can start helping people right now and also go live in beautiful places like Bali. So I ended up packing my bags from at the time I was in Chicago. And from there, I went and I started my own like solo travel, which was something that for me wasn't a shocker to my family or my friends, but for me, it was a new experience, a new journey. And I ended up just going more deeper into the online space and figuring out how I could do more in terms of like the marketing and really always just taking like that wellness side into a different realm.
Beautiful. So how exciting going from one extreme now and then like online world is a totally different world. And I so understand because I've been through the same journey in some respects of that. But although I wasn't traveling part of the world as you had, but you experienced, so you started out because you were introduced to a startup company at that point in time, correct?
Yeah. So at that time, I had started going into, so after my course, then it was like in a place where I was like, just enough to suffice for myself. I was not really doing anything on a larger scale, and I was just doing things very at a hobby level, I would say. And then I got introduced into a startup company that was the like 100 times fold like of everything else. Like there were so many bits and bobs going on. It was like this, it was like flying a paper plane and then entering into like a real jet. And so I ended up going into this jet of a startup and just learning so many different experiences of every single thing when it comes to online, when it comes to funnels, when it comes to follow up and email and social media, paid traffic, all the different things from there. And that startup just really took me to a place of having, again, those basic skills into going into taking them into a completely different level of skills.
So once you got into that, you got the taste, and it's having that carrot, right, to move you into that new world. And then what made you move into what you have now as your Wealthy Women?
Yeah. So what had happened was at this time, it's a huge company. It's still going. And what I realized was that going out, I was as a trainer and figuring out how to help these clients come in and how they could help do their own types of uh, things online, whether it was their coaching, their e-com, whatever it was. I was helping them in that space because first I had to do it myself and then I was teaching them. But what happened was I would be in this room, and we were in so many different countries, but this happened in every country. So I'd be in a room of half men, half women, essentially. And right away, the men would pick things up like that. It would be just such a quick turnaround. Like you tell them what to do, they just did it. They get into it. Like they made a couple sales and they were like, yeah, this is great. And then these women who are from such high prestige, from my point of view, of lawyers, doctors, investors, and all different walks of life, would come in and they would be getting the exact same instruction. But what was stopping them was, oh, but what if somebody finds out that I'm doing this? Or what are other people going to think? Or am I really going to be in this space? It was like imposter syndrome and showing up in a different space of how do I there was just so much more self-doubt and so many other mindset issues going on there that I realized like this isn't just a one-time thing. This is women all over. And I don't know if this is because of so many different societal things, but when it comes to women, I believe that women do need that a woman's touch, essentially, to making sure that they can be supported and feel supported and have that community, and making sure that their voices can be heard in a safe and comfortable space. And that's where I realized, okay, so let me just focus on working with women and taking a very similar model, but bringing it to that extra experience of overcoming certain things that women have to overcome and taking into account of women's lifestyles and the reason why women get started compared to just a man's. And it they differ. They're both extraordinary experiences. Like I think men have their own role, women have their own role, but I think women need uh that extra feel for women, and that's where Wealthy Women started.
So, it's interesting you say that because women are such strong characters as it is because, we don't live one life. We juggle balls all through our lives. And, men are starting to get to that point in their life now. But we've been through society, like it's, especially in the last years, as women have gone into the workforce and now they're juggling still the home, the kids, now the work. So why do you find that women have such self-doubt in their own minds?
I think part of it is external beliefs that are coming in and also that internal beliefs. And it's just redefining that voice that's inside of you and making sure that that's louder than anything else that's coming on. And it's not as simple as just a quick switch of a speaker, unfortunately, but sometimes it just takes a identifying where it is for each woman, because sometimes that voice that's coming in is the parents, the grandparents, the boss at work, or even society on the street telling you this is what you need to do, this is how you should be, this is what makes you proper, this is what makes you a good woman. And it's redefining that and saying what makes me the best version of me for my lifestyle. And that's different for every single woman. And so it's just making sure that you're creating that space and taking a formula that works so that every single woman can take their voice and make sure that it applies best for their lifestyle.
Perfect. Beautiful. So I understand. And, one of the things that you have said, if I'm not mistaken, it's about life is not about fitting in. It's about creating your own path and living your life authentically. So how did you create your own path and now being able to live your life authentically?
Thank you so much for that question. So a little bit more, I guess, to touch on this. So by just looking at me, I don't know if you can tell, but I have a Mexican inside of me. My last name is Sandoval, but I'm Mexican, I'm Native American, I'm German, I'm a whole bunch of things. And so my friends used to call me like a hybrid, and I was like, okay, that's great. So what happened was I grew up in a very Mexican style home, and that was until I was age 7. And as we know, like our identities usually start shaping at 7 until 13, and then of course throughout our lives. And what was comfortable and familiar to me was something I was like transplanted out of my very Mexican South Side Chicago or Chicago area, and taking from there into going to a very white suburban neighborhood, which I learned so many different skills. But for me, I came from eating mangoes every day to having them into my classroom being called exotic. And I wasn't sure what that necessarily meant. Is my normal lifestyle supposed to be exotic, or what was this supposed to be? And we actually I would spend Monday through Fridays at school in Wisconsin. And then I would go into weekends to my grandparents. And so while I was at school, I didn't necessarily feel like I fit in, or I saw anybody who looked like me or sounded like me. And I used to have a very strong Latina accent, and it turned very I used to get made fun of in school for like wearing ponchos or just different things. And it wasn't necessarily like out of hate. It was, I think, more so a thing of unfamiliarity. And that's what you would expect in a very undiverse area, which is where I was. And so when I would go back to my grandparents' house as well, I wouldn't necessarily fit back in either, because my school system was completely different. I was exposed to so many different things and learning styles, which I'm so very fortunate for. And throughout life, I just kind of grew up thinking, like, what is it supposed to be like? What were my goals? And usually people have like this set dream of wanting to get a car, like get married, have babies, buy a house, and that's the ideal dream. And that ideal dream usually comes from in very white suburban neighborhoods. For us, was very there. While in my Mexican family, it was more so like we're just surviving, like we're just having a good time, not thinking so much far ahead. And for me, I wanted to figure out, okay, well, what's my actual dream? What does it necessarily mean for me to fit in? And then plot twist came throughout my journey of solo traveling. I went on my own spiritual journey. And then I actually converted to my religion to Islam and became Muslim. And that was a whole different learning curve of so many different cultures, obviously a religion, and learning and unlearning different etiquettes and just a way of life. And from there, it was again such an easy step for me to just fit in, be called Medium, and just kind of go with it because then everyone thought I was Lebanese for some reason. And I had to really just own it and step into my own identity of just saying, you know what? I'm not in this bubble. I'm not in this bubble. I'm not in this bubble, but my name is Marilyn and I'm going to show up what feels right and best for me. And while that might go into all of those little bubbles, but it's being able to mixing and blending and making them into a beautiful portrait and being able to do that how it feels the best. And for me, sometimes that means like learning how to make Mexican food, and sometimes it means like learning how to bake bread, or a lot of times it shows up in my foods that I make. But it's really taking those and being able to take those experiences and living with every one of those experiences with so much immense gratitude that I've gone through every single portion, and taking lessons from every bits and bobs and saying this is what makes me, and all of those things. There's nothing wrong with anything that's going on, but taking the best and most beautiful parts and being able to say this fits me the best, and that's how I show up with that.
Wow, beautiful. I love it. I totally love it. So let's continue on that. I know you talk a lot about recreating yourself, and I totally understand because I've recreated myself a few times through my life, and quite a few, twice for sure. Had to restart and figure out who I was, and many women go through these things through their life, whether they've lost a job, divorce, just sometimes even through just the hard struggles of life, they fall and they struggle so much, and what we need to do is to sit back sometimes and look at our lives and try to figure out. So women that are, since you are one of your biggest areas that you talk about being about recreating, what are the strategies that you could give somebody who's looking to recreate themselves that they need to do to move forward of a few steps?
Of course. So the first thing that I always say is prioritize yourself, because I know so often there are so many women who go through essentially this caregiving role, and when they go through different stages of life, whether it's getting married, they wrap themselves in the marriage, or they have a kid, now they wrap themselves in having those kids, or they have an elderly person to take care of, and now they wrap themselves into that caretaking role, and they forget to take care of themselves, or to forget. So when something happens, such as a divorce, or their child goes to school, or they the elderly person hopefully gets healthy, or unfortunately passes to the next stage in their areas, but they go through this, and now that caregiving role is it comes up with so many other losses, because now you didn't only lose that aspect of your life, but you lost your identity that you wrapped into it. And so the first thing that I say is prioritize yourself and setting boundaries, because when it comes to prioritizing yourself, it means saying like, I need this is what self-love looks for me, whether it means like having healthy meals, taking nice long baths, being able to do something there. And prioritizing yourself first means that you're communicating to whoever you need to communicate to be able to do and to achieve that. And when it comes to setting boundaries, it means being able to say no. And no is a full, complete sentence. So when somebody asks you something, you can just say no. There's no explanation needed. There's no justification needed. There's no extra story that has to go with it. But your boundaries are your boundaries. And to set and establish healthy boundaries is so important.
Yeah.
Once you have those two things done, then it becomes more of like a fun process because you can set up that self-love into a routine. And so I have this formula, what I call it's the core that you must have achieved before you get your ultimate wealth. And so the core consists of 4 B's, which are body, balance, business, and being. And these B's are how you can plan and make sure that you're filling up each one of these buckets. So body is, of course, your health and your nutrition. So it can show up with, of course, like weight, or that's the metric that you take is weight, but it shows up with like what healthy foods are you eating? What types of, how's your diet looking like? And how's your energy? So that's body. Being is what are you doing spiritually? What are you connecting? How are you connecting to your higher power? What does that mean for you? What time are you dedicating for that higher level of consciousness? And that shows up metrically with like times of reading or meditation or prayer. And then the next B is business. And so when I say business, not every single woman is in business, but the one who's there, is essentially what financially pays you. And even if you're a homemaker or a housemaker, it doesn't mean that you have to obliviously give that whole role completely to your husband. It means how are you financially getting taken care of? Who's paying your bills? Like what's going on? Being able to take that budget and making sure that from that budget, you're able to cover the things that you want to do. So you don't feel ever entrapped. So business metric there is the what financially pays you, whether it's your husband, the household, your actual business, your hobby, your side hustle, your job, all of those things. And then the last one is balance. And balance, even though I don't believe that we can create essentially a balance, more so a harmony, balance is those relationships that you have with others. So, where are you, like, how are you spending time with your in laws, your friends, your acquaintances, your colleagues? How many coffee dates are you going out for a week? Because if every day looks like you're going out for a a coffee date every single day and they're lasting 12 hours a day, those might not be necessarily filling up your other buckets. So every quarter of the year, you take essentially out of those 4, you pick which one that you really want to have exponential growth in. And then you set up systems in the other areas to make sure that those are also growing with you, but not having that exponential growth. So sometimes when you need to work on that business, again, it's not a balance that's going to be within every single other bucket, but you have to communicate that with those other important people around you, whether it means like those besties who are looking for those coffee dates or your husband who wants to date, but you want to focus on your business because when you again go to that first priority of taking care of yourself first. Once you can take care of yourself first, then you can take care of others. It's like instead of having a cup being filled by others, you now become this beautiful fountain that's overflowing and can fill others as well.
Absolutely. I'm such a believer of filling your cup first. And, where we feel, I grew up that way, feeling that, if I did something for myself before I did others, I felt guilty. And it wasn't until many years later that I realized that when my cup emptied, that I couldn't give to others. And it's such a shift that we need to get into, that we can have for ourselves first, and then we can give. Whether you are a businesswoman or whether you're a mom, there's nothing wrong with looking after ourselves first, even before we look after our children. It doesn't mean that we love any less, or a husband, or whatever it is. So it's quite a mind shift that we need to make about caring for ourselves, because when we're strong and vital, we can give so much easier to those around us. And how about you feel about people that are not giving enough? Like if you've got those people that suck your energy, what do you believe in having, finding those people that are around you that are giving you positive energy as opposed to negative?
I'm getting a little bit of mic feedback. I'm not sure if that's coming through. But I checked the side of the mic.
I'm okay with you. You're having a problem hearing me?
No, it was just sounded like feedback, but it sounds good now.
Okay. So yeah, so we tend to have some people in our lives that spur us on and give us that energy and fill those cups. And then we have those people that unfortunately suck the energy out of us. And maybe, after a conversation, we don't have that same drive or energy. There's something that they do to us. How do you manage people in your life that do that to you? How do you deal with that?
Those have to have a hard cutoff. I think that it's better to just say, as fast as possible. And I know it gets a little bit tricky when it becomes, if it's your family members, and it's being able to hold again your space first and setting those strong boundaries, because if you're constantly giving somebody all of this energy and at the end of the day it's draining, it's tiring, you're not going to be able to feel your best version of yourself. So when it comes to those other people, if they are somebody like that maybe you've known in the past, what I like to say is, just because somebody has had a past with you doesn't give them the right to hold a future with you. And that means that just because you've had all these beautiful memories, you've had such great times, it's really shifting that mindset of saying, those times served me then, and what's going to serve me now. And it's being able to take a look at, again, it's having that selfish energy for yourself, because that's really going to be able to allow you to give for others the most.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you are the founder and CEO to Wealthy Women. So tell us about Wealthy Women and who you do serve.
Yeah, so Wealthy Women essentially is a coaching program for women who are also coaches or consultants who are looking to start, grow, or scale their own business. And so, what we do is we teach you how to create your own high ticket offer, how to package that offer. And also, what we do is make sure that we go through the mindset of every single stage. So, it's making sure that you take your own unique ability. So, that's the energy that you thrive with the most. So it's really identifying that and taking that energy and applying that for you as your business, because we don't only want to help ladies create a high ticket offer and then let them go on their own. We want to make sure that they are getting those boss skills for what they need for themselves and becoming truly amazing conscious leaders. And so we take it, and of course it's the online program for coaching, but also it's really embodying and taking a leadership course as well.
Fabulous. And how can people get in touch with you if they're interested in getting your coaching?
So the best place to go to is wealthywoman.com. And if you want to speak to me directly, then of course you can reach me at Instagram, which our handle is wealthywoman.inc.
And what golden nugget could you leave a woman with right now who is kind of sort of circling right now in her life and not sure where she is to step first?
So if she's in a place where she's really figuring out her footing in life, the best thing to do is to get grounded in your space. And that means, again, becoming that version of yourself where you feel the most authentic. And so the best thing to do to in order to get there is, again, really figuring out what brings you the most joy. So as simple as it is to write down on a piece of paper all the things that make you feel truly amazing inside. And it's not what's supposed to make you happy, but it's what makes you happy, whether it means doing activities outside, going for hikes, going for walks, and or it's cooking at home, or it's creating something, or it's taking care of your kids, whatever it is. write that down and truly embody and look at what skills do you use in each set of those activities that makes you love them. Because of course, going out for a walk, everybody feels a little bit better, but do you like leading a group outside, or do you like observing and exploring the leaves, or do you like being present and really understanding your own unique ability, your unique skill? We call it your wealth force. It's that force what's inside of you that creates this infinite amount of wealth in all areas of your life. So figuring out that wealth force is going to help you truly create so much more joy for you and for others, and get you in a place that's grounded in this area of your life and the others.
So we have to tell people, though, that everybody has those sparkles and those gems inside of them, and we don't need to look outside to establish it from others. We can find it within ourselves.
Exactly.
So I'm a very big advocate on meditation. I believe that it's part of the grounding to quiet the mind and to allow the spirit and also the voices to come to lead you to where you need to be. Do you believe in meditation as well?
Always, so much so. And I think that there are so many different types and forms of meditation. Like the Wim Hof is something that I have found recently that brings me a lot of energy. Wim Hof method is something that takes, it's a different breathing method in terms of your mindset. But when it comes to really being, I think the key for meditation, from my experience, is being present, because most of the time our brains are thinking, okay, what's next? I have to do this. Here's my to-do list. I've got to feed this, do this, clean this, do this, work on this, create this. And we oftentimes miss what's going on right in front of us. And making sure the easiest way that I found out to do that is just to say, I wonder what my next thought is going to be, and sit still for a few moments. And then ask yourself again, I wonder what my next thought will be. And hold that space, because in that space, it brings so much of a stillness and a clarity of openness and being. And that's one of the ways that I found allows you to become very present in a really quick set of seconds. And there are so many other methods and strategies for like becoming present and meditating that I absolutely love. I could talk on that for like hours, but I truly agree that having that time and space of thinking and being is really a game changer.
And it's just sort of a great start to living a much healthier life when we can just slow down a little bit and, as they say, smell the roses, because as our lives are just moving around just so quickly and time is passing by so quickly, we just need to just stop for a moment and just feel what we need to be feeling, allowing our heart to lead and just come out with being who we need to be, right?
Exactly.
So I want to thank you so very much for joining me today and for giving such incredible wisdom out there to the many women or men that are watching it. And, it's not just about women. It's, yes, I do in my coaching as well, mainly work with women, but it's also just serving whoever needs, obviously I'm a believer of this will hit somebody who at the right time, there are no coincidences in life. Things come to those as they need it. And so I'm hoping that whoever sees this interview today, you can sit back and just be for a moment and listen to what Marilyn has shared with us today, such incredible wisdom and such beauty of what she offers to people. And, share us if anybody wants to get in touch with Marilyn. Marilyn Rose at wealthywomen.com. Don't think twice, even just reach out to ask a question. I'm Glenda Kroll, and I'm here to help you as well. I work with women who are struggling and need to sort of build up their own confidence, get through whatever is stopping them in their lives. We're here to service you, and it's all about helping one another, because this world is actually very small, and love does conquer all. And if we can just be there for one another to help each other along the way, that to me is what it's supposed to be made up of. So thank you, Marilyn, so much for giving me your time. I look forward to hopefully once this, we are still in lockdown in Toronto. So at one point in time, I'm sure our paths will cross again. And I look forward to seeing you and hearing some more wisdom through you. You're an incredible woman, and I thank you so very much.
Thank you so much, Glenda. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Be well and all the best. Thank you so much, everybody. Give us a little bit of love. Give us a comment. Have any questions, don't hesitate. Can write on our post, and we will make sure that whoever it goes to, Marilyn will certainly be able to answer your questions. Thanks so much, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now.